course, we have Samantha Paxson, who is the founder at Power and Light Collaborative, and we have Frank Diekmann, the collaborator-in-chief at the CU Daily, and they are going to talk a little bit, okay, thought Frank maybe skipped out, just trying to sneak off in there. They're going to talk a little bit about the industry and what's happening and what's next. Take it away, Frank.
You on here?
You look it born.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Frank Diekmann, Samantha Paxson. I want to say one thing quickly before we begin, and we only have a few moments, and that is a number of years ago, Sue called me to the stage at an underground, and she said, I didn't know she was going to call me. It was at the end of the meeting. She asked me, "What did you think?" And I said, "Sue, I come every year. I write about everybody talking. Where's the doing? And I want to congratulate her and Mitchell Stankovic on this CUSS initiative." The second thing I just want to let everyone know is Samantha and I only have 10 minutes today. We have a separate presentation that solves every problem in credit unions, but it takes 12 minutes. So I'm sorry you will not be hearing that. So we're here to talk about growth. Samantha, talk to us a little bit about growth.
Thanks, Frank. And it's really exciting to be here today. I am loving hearing about fractionalization and the way that we really get amazing talent and the right people in the room. I'm actually the CEO of Power and Light Collaborative. We're a growth accelerator for credit unions and for fintechs. I'm also the Chief Growth Officer at Acumen Financial Advantage, which helps optimize balance sheets and really helps ensure that we can unlock capital now that we need to go infuse into our credit unions. And then I'm also an advisor in residence with EY, Ernst & Young. So dancing on a few different platforms here, but one of the things that I'm really noticing is that we are really leaning on old assumptions when we talk about growth. So I was at a credit union in Virginia last week, and I asked the group of leaders, how are you going to see about growth? What is your big strategy? What do you think they said? Call it out. I heard merger whisper.
I heard someone say rates.
Right. Okay. So merger, that's like we can make ourselves bigger, but what value are we bringing to the market? What I'm observing is that we have a product market fit issue. That what do consumers need today? We heard rates. We're in a rate environment that makes that a little bit challenging. And how often do you go get a loan? Every 5 to 7 years?
7 years.
So what happens the rest of the time? When we're really looking at people helping people, how are we helping people? So this credit union in Virginia said, what's our value to the market? Great rates. But when are you in the market for a loan? And what do people need? Another story, some of you know I broke my arm. I can now move it. It's so great. And I had to go to physical therapy. My physical therapy assistants are all about 22, 23 years old. And they asked me as I'm doing my external rotations, what do you do, Samantha? And I say, I'm in banking consulting. And they're like,
boring.
That's weird. And they said, one of the guys, his name's James, he says, I don't even use one. I just use a bunch of apps. So when we're talking, these are guys in their 20s. And then I started asking out of the room, one of the assistants used a traditional financial institution, one of the physical therapy assistants. It blows my mind. We have gone from the main value that we bring in people helping people is reducing the expense of their biggest bill. But what about all of the different financial behaviors that people have? How do we create daily engagement to get the consumer hooked in with us? And when we think about, I hear Ron Shevlin say this all the time from Cornerstone, the average consumer has 45 different financial relationships. So when we think that I served on the board of a credit union, 60,000 members. When you really look at it, there's probably 30% that are truly active, that are truly using the credit union day in and day out. And so we have to look at how do we demonstrate our value? How do we demonstrate people helping people? I love seeing the technologists here. I love hearing Circle and all of the CUSOs and all of the different providers that are really helping credit unions to infuse the right use cases into our environment, how do we then take that and bring it all together for our members to really help them in their financial lives?
Samantha kindly did not mention, by the way, that she and I did a previous session, and I asked a question she didn't care for, and that's how she broke her right arm. She got me right here. So I meant to sit on her other side. I was
riding an e-bike.
So we have only 5 minutes left. You come to a meeting like this, we've already heard 100 ideas. Where do you recommend somebody start in terms of growth if they really want to drive effective growth?
So I think it's interesting. If we look at our market share, we've had 9% market share for the last 12 years in the credit union industry. When we look at where that market share is focused, it's all credit unions above $3 billion in assets. Loan growth and membership growth, 3% and 4% respectively. We got to do something different. And what's interesting, serving on the board of a credit union, what did we look at when I would go to the meetings? We'd look at our financials and look at loan performance. It was the number one thing. That credit union served students. Students don't get mortgages. So when we're looking...
College tuition is now a mortgage, yes.
Quite a significant one, right. Actually. But it's really interesting. We look at product line by product line P&L. Are we serving our members one product at a time? Are we product centric or are we member centric? How do those solutions come together in the right mix at the right time to help the member make the best financial decision in that moment and choose you all day, every day? We have to get the finance team working with the marketing team, working with the digital team, working with the loan team, working with all of it so that we understand the relationship between our interest income, which are the big ticket dollars that come into the credit union, and non-interest income. And we know there's good and bad non-interest income. I worked for a payments company for almost 19 years. We looked at transaction volume. We looked at money movement. We tried to help credit unions be the primary financial interaction. There's no such thing anymore as primary financial institution. PFI is primary financial interaction, and you're winning it moment by moment by moment every day. It's really what I also love when we talk about product market fit. I think Keith said this earlier. He said, how do we know and Brian Branch just said this earlier. He said, what do the people need? So if we start with our members and understand their behavior and then bring the right mix of solutions together, they will become more and more and more trusting that that we have the capability to deliver what they need. And that's when we have line of sight into, when I serve on the board of a credit union, I want to know, tell me about the new members. Tell me about how those members are behaving and interacting with the credit union. Tell me about how you are tracking those interactions, not product by product by product, but how is that then driving your non-interest income and those use cases? And then what's the relationship between your non-interest income and your interest income? It requires an entirely different way of thinking. And this is something that I think we're just realizing this in the credit union industry. We've talked about change, we talk about product, we talk about AI all day, every day. We talk about crypto. We talk about all of these different products or technologies. What I would tell us to do, come back to your members, come back to your communities. What do they need? And how do you design yourself for them?
You mentioned a primary financial institution. I was at a meeting earlier this week in Texas. Perhaps you've heard this observation before, but someone said there is such a thing as a primary financial institution, and it's this device right here. This is the new PFI. So we've got a minute left. We're headed in a strategic planning season, and we're most already done so. Out of what you just said, where would you add to someone's strategic planning session agenda this year?
Get really clear on how you do change management inside your credit union. So it's really interesting serving as an advisor in residence with EY. I have some of my colleagues in the room here. The number one thing we do, we help guide really big mergers in the credit union space and help do those integrations. What was really surprising to me is even the largest credit unions struggle with cross-functional implementations. That's the business process transformation, the technology integration. How do those teams organizationally work together? What's the process? This is truly what innovation is. Nick Evans talked about integration. They're teaching fintechs how to integrate into credit unions. Fintechs really look at my widget, look how great it is. How does that then fit into the way the credit union's always done it? And it's really interesting to see how we work together inside our institutions and say, how do we drive this change? How do we work in a different way where our old assumption was we put out a great rate and the deposits come. Now we have to demonstrate that we are an anticipatory, sensing technology organization that delivers financial services, and we do it with purpose. And that, I think, is what really makes us so different in this industry.
Well, I hope everyone will join me in thanking Samantha. There's a number of outstanding takeaways there. Thank you, everyone, and join us for the 12-minute presentation some other time. Thank you so much, everyone.
Thank you.